Hey, how's it going? So today is really fun because we get to recreate one of my favorite items in my Etsy shop. It was actually also the very first item that I ever added to my Etsy shop, and it's been performing pretty well, so I decided to restock. This is an original item that's made from this hand that I sculpted. So after sculpting that with clay and using a little bit of nail polish to give it a nice shiny texture, I made these two latex molds ready to fill with resin and organic material. Just random stuff from my flower collection. I have a little bit of mica that I want to put in there. I might try a few with gold leaf. So keep watching to see how I use flower magic to create these really pretty resin charms. So starting with mixing the resin and the resin catalyst for about a minute until this silvery looking mixture looks completely clear, and then pouring a base layer into the molds to let that sit for a minute till I decide what flowers to use. So basically these are all the little scraps of flowers that I thought were way too pretty to throw away, and I started with layering red carnation petals because they keep such a bright pigment. Then I continued to use some baby's breath and honestly a bunch of other flowers that I'm not sure what they are. If you do know, please let me know, that would be very helpful. But I just picked really nice, pretty, bright colors that I thought would stand out nicely. Honestly, I just wish flowers had simpler names like Paul or Greg or frickin' Linda or something, because I look up these flower names all the time and I try to remember them and I try to pronounce them, but it's really hard for me. Can we just name this like the Norman flower or something? Like, come on, I don't know. I'm finishing these ones off with a little bit of gold leaf for the background. I started on my next set, which were going to be pretty similar, except using some cedar and pine cones for the green and then using mica as a background. All things found locally in Ontario. So I've been thinking about doing a little bit more in-depth video on my Etsy shop, maybe going into analytics and some of my processes, because a lot of my free time is spent just researching how to use Etsy to its fullest potential, how to advertise, and just what's going on in the community. So let me know if you think that would be interesting or fun stuff that I could include in that, because I'm really getting into the swing of this small business type thing. And the best part of it is the creative freedom that I get to take in so many different ways, in advertising and marketing, in community building, in content that I create. So I probably have a lot to talk about, so let me know. So after unmolding these little guys, each one needed a fresh coat of resin to make it as shiny and clear as possible so you can really see everything that's going on within each of the charms. And using my handheld Dremel, I cleaned up the edges of each of the pieces, getting rid of all the excess resin. This is the chance where I can really define the shape of the hand and make sure it really looks like a hand. Make sure all the details in the height of the fingers and the crook of the thumb all look like how it's supposed to look. So I do this for all 5 magnets that I created. This was the point where I dropped off one of the magnets. As always, there was one veto. Because it looked a little bit warped compared to the others, I decided to exile one of the pieces. After I finished sanding all of the pieces, the backs were all scratched up, so this is a very useful trick when it comes to working with resin. I use this really simple clear nail polish so you can see all the colors even on the back really clearly. This isn't ideal for top coating things because nail polish can scratch really easily and it just doesn't look as nice, but it didn't matter so much since I was adding magnet backs to each of these pieces, and this was the last step before the final results. So I'm thrilled with how these turned out, and I think they display nature in such a beautiful and simple way. So thanks so much for watching, and next week's video is going to be all about crystals. I just got a bunch of new rose and crystal quartz, which is perfect for making love spells. So I think I'm going to be making a little bit more orgonite in my crystal molds because they have been doing really well on Etsy. So if you want to check that out, there'll be a link in the description, and have a good one.